the latest now in his read of things, because sadly, the only time I get together with Bill Daly is when we have these tragedies, but he offers a great calming perspective on them as well. Bill is a former FBI investigator. Bill, the eerie similarities are remarkable here. But having said that, what do you make of what info you've gotten?
Well, so far, Neil, as we know, in these early moments of an incident, sometimes all these facts later on become somewhat contradicted. So we're not too sure right now, whether this was a student, was it someone from the outside coming in, was it a personal vendetta that made its way from the public side back into the school.
We should stress that you're exactly right. 3 people identified him as a student, but most others in these reports we got could not identify, only that he seemed to be an adult male. But go ahead.
Yeah, so again, just looking at the fact pattern, we're not 100% clear. So we need to keep our eyes open to the fact that, if it's an individual from the outside, maybe it's some type of an interpersonal issue that's gone awry, and they've come back into the school to either, to shoot someone and taken on a broader death toll. It's something that we need to really look at because, access to schools is one thing for students. Access for visitors is something else. And if this turns out to be the latter, where it's access for individuals who shouldn't have access, then something we need to kind of really understand.
And we don't know whether this school had magnetometers or could search out metal devices or anything like that. Way too early to tell. We don't even know what kind of weapon was used. We're told a shotgun of some sort, but again, that could be coming from someone who had no idea about guns, and in the middle of pandemonium, who could blame them? But invariably, having this fellow having been apprehended, police authorities are going to go through whatever social media he's been claiming to, right?
Sure. Well, Neil, this is a key thing. This is whether or not it's any of these scenarios that we've just discussed here, a student or someone from the outside. It's certainly very important to understand whether any harbingers, whether any information ahead of time that would have in any way clued someone into this on either side. Is it social media? Have people posted things? Have there been information that others now hear to say, in retrospect, they should have reported it? We often call that in our business leakage.
Right.
It's leakage of information. It may not be all in one dump. It's maybe bits and pieces that come out that kind of suggest that somebody is unraveling and that those people need to be taken, having a special close look at. Certainly, when we look back at what happened in Parkland, and we certainly hope that it's not indicative here, is that where authorities did have some early warnings, they had some calls, they had some real reason to be concerned about that shooter, and action wasn't taken, appropriate action wasn't taken to mitigate that circumstance. Again, we don't know if that's the case here.
But you mentioned the Parkland case where I talked to a father who had lost his girl in that attack. His son went to the same school, but his son immediately told his father, this is Nicholas Cruz. We know this guy. It has to be that guy. Others thought the same. Now, I don't know what precipitated that talk or gossip at the time, but without even apprehending him then, this is before he was caught, that seemed to be a conclusion among many students. So we'll look for that sort of thing, right?
And you look for that kind of fact pattern. And I think, Neil, at the end of the day, and you hear many experts speak about this, and so I don't mean to be kind of just,
Sure.
Parroting back what people are saying, is that in these incidents where you have active shooters, whether it's in the school place or the workplace, training is certainly key. Knowing whether to run, fight, or fight at the very end of it. Whether you run, you hide, you fight. Those are the key elements to any of these programs. And it's a very personal decision what you do during one of these cases. With students, they're given direction. We make sure that direction is given properly. And if people are hearing bells go off, they know what those bells mean. Is it a fire drill? Is it an emergency exit drill? Should there be some pre-announcement ahead of time to say this is a drill or this is an actual incident, if it can be done? Those are things that students are looking for. But at the end of the day, it is certainly up to any one of us in that situation, whether in school, workplace, or out in the public space, in malls where you may happen to be. You need to know whether you need to run, get out of the situation, hide and avoid that shooter coming at you, or a last-ditch effort.
But you can't blame kids, right, Bill, that they said if a school alarm goes off, especially one that's not pre-announced, as you say, we have them here in this building where there's a practice drill. But if it's not one that was telegraphed, I can imagine a lot of kids just thinking, you know what? I know what happened in Florida. I know what potentially happened here. I don't know. How do you advise them?
Yeah, well, and of course they're going to obey authority, and they're taught to kind of, it's a fire drill,
right.
We're going to orderly get out of the building, and these are your exits, this is where you're going to go to, you're going to assemble on the field outside the school. We now know that the perpetrators of these horrible crimes know that, and they use that to their advantage. their advantage to kill more people, whether it's going through the hallways, as we're being suggested here, or whether it's when they go outside and they're all gathered onto a playing field or what have you.
By the way, there are reports that this school does have security and checkpoints. I don't know that for a fact. That was just one commentator on Fox News, I believe, earlier today, mentioning it. But if this person was familiar with the school, that could make a big difference, right? I mean, versus going in, territory unknown.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and don't mean to be kind of, making generalizations here, but
sure.
In most of these cases, it's somebody who's familiar. Either they're familiar because they're outside visitors and they have somebody who they know works in one of these environments, whether it's a school or workplace, or whether it's students who have an intimate knowledge of how the schools operate and know the ins and outs of those hallways. We very rarely, and maybe there are a couple of exceptions, and we've seen that here in certainly some of the shootings taking place. Very rarely is somebody who just comes in totally out of the blind,
right.
who doesn't know anything about it. It's usually someone who has some reason to be there, some connection to it.
And clearly some familiarity.
Some personal issues, some personal vendetta, some personal emotive response to something. And that's the issue behind knowing ahead of time. What are those tripwires? What are those things we need to be listening to? What should students feel comfortable reporting? I mean, they may see somebody of their peers acting out and they feel as though they're telling on them. But you need to know in this day and age that it's not just telling on someone. You're really preventing damage and harm of lives. If you tell someone in authority, I think someone is misbehaving, I'm unsure.
And then you got to know what was done in those cases.
And then you hope that it's acted on.
Bill Daly, thank you very, very much.